Hello there.
This is where the fun begins.
Hey there guys, Unofficial Star Wars here. I hope you're all doing well, and welcome to my The Mandalorian Season 3 Episode 2 review/breakdown video. We're going to be discussing and talking about all of the different things that you might have missed throughout this episode, as well as different Easter eggs, as well as some of my own thoughts and opinions and theories throughout this video here as well. This here all being said, we're going to go ahead and hop right on into it, but before we do, it should go without saying that yes, there are spoilers ahead here for The Mandalorian Season 3 Episode 2, so if you haven't already and watched it, go watch it. What are you doing? It is yet again action-packed and very adventurous. It is amazing. I loved it. In this video, we're going to be taking a read from IGN.com. I'll have their article linked in the description down below for you guys to check out there as well. As a read, The Mandalorian humiliated Game of Thrones in the worst possible way in Episode 2 of Season 3, making it nearly impossible to see the ruined planet of Mandalore, or many fight scenes that had happened there. And while I don't necessarily want to dive off the deep end here and just kind of jump right on into all the bad stuff that we saw in this episode, because there was a lot of amazing and great stuff that we did see throughout this episode, I would like to quickly, briefly mention my kind of biggest disappointment with this episode was honestly the lighting that we saw on the planet of Mandalore. We're finally seeing Mandalore, of course, like in live action in the Mandalorian. It's a very big thing. It's a very big deal, especially for all the animated show lovers out there for like Star Wars Clone Wars or Star Wars Rebels and everything like that. So to see this planet actually really come to life here in live action after so much time here finally is and to see it's like really bad lighting, it's overly dark and everything like that, is a little bit of a disappointment. However, that didn't really stop me from enjoying it. It didn't really bother me all that much. That there is kind of what the article is throwing out there, and I do have to kind of agree with that. As the article continues to read, it seemed like Din Djarin's quest for redemption was going to be a season-long plot involving a side quest to rebuild IG-11 potentially, but the Mines of Mandalore speeds things along while reviving Bo-Katan's quest to retake her homeworld of Mandalore as well at the same time. There are a lot of callbacks in the beginning of the episode with the return to Tatooine and the grungy charms of Amy Satari's Pelimoto character. The hilarious decision not to replace the tooth she had lost in the finale of the Book of Boba Fett suits the character as much as she likes to pull scams on the Jawas on Tatooine as well. After Andor, the show largely got rid of alien characters, The Mandalorian returns to mundantly slotting them into the galaxy as Peli negotiates with an unfortunate Rodian, talking animatedly with his well-articulated fingers. Really to see the return of aliens in this show, the next live-action Star Wars show since the Andor show, is really quite great, and it feels a lot like, well, Star Wars. Tatooine is celebrating what's called Bunta Eve, the same holiday commemorated by the pod race in The Phantom Menace, which is subtly referenced in the race wrapping up in the beginning of the episode. The giant fireworks show happening when Din leaves is striking, but it feels like meaningless visuals at that compared to Andor's The Eye episode, which perfectly married the narrative with the visuals in that episode. Anyway, discussing The Mandalorian, Bunta Eve is a holiday established by the Hutts, and this episode could have examined how the celebration has changed with them no longer on Tatooine, or as that would be seeming. It seems maybe potentially that the Hutts could be back on Tatooine, as Pelimoto briefly mentions it. This is something I'd like to discuss in a separate feature video here on the channel, so stay on the lookout for that. That also has a lot to do with Boba Fett and his character going forward in the Mandoverse as well, with everything that they may be setting up for a second season of the Book of Boba Fett. However, diving deeper on into exactly what the celebration of Bunta Eve exactly is something that would have fit well into the episode's dive into the importance of a planet's culture, instead of the action zips on, with Din Djarin reluctantly accepting the help of the glitchy, cowardly astromech R5, the very same one that we saw in the beginning of A New Hope. Instead of waiting around for the part for he needs IG-11, he goes with this R5 droid instead, which will get the job done as we do see. There are some tender moments on the ship as Din describes what Mandalore means to him as a foundling who never actually set foot on the planet before. Din's tone has shifted since being reunited with Grogu in a way that shows he's truly embraced the child as an adopted son who needs to be fully initiated into the way of Mandalore. These lessons, along with those infos Grogu got from Luke Skywalker will serve him well as he starts taking a more active role as a character rather than an unpredictable asset sometimes capable of bailing Din out of trouble. It is unfortunate, however, that the show ameliorates the awful Attack of the Clones Yoda fight scene from Grogu's force hop out of the Mando ship and into Peli's arms. Some people don't really like the way that I guess Grogu does his little flips. I think they're cute and they honestly look really well. I completely disagree with that from the article. The Black Panther cinematographer Rachel Morrison looks to establish a horror vibe in her first episode of The Mandalorian, with his helmet pressurized to protect him from any potentially toxic atmosphere air. Din resembles Dead Space's Isaac Clarke as he explores the dimly lit ruins of a once great civilization, but while the limited perspective of his helmet flashlight helps establish a mood, it strips the impact of the setting and makes battles nearly impossible to follow. Everything's just a little bit too dark, as the article mentioned before. Morrison could have altered between the tight views and more sweeping vistas to show the ruins, or turned up the lights when the action was happening. The dragon-like creature that emerges from hiding to ambush Grogu shows that she's capable of this shift, cleverly setting up its lurking presence while still delivering a start when it does attack. It looks great in the pale light of Mandalore's brightened surface, its snapping maw almost matching the hue of the planet's striking mountains of green glass. Instead, the episode features a handful of often obscure fights with darker scenes. The giant-like, bug-like robot that captures Din and its bizarre pilot, which is a remnant of the Diagana from A New Hope's trash compactor, makes for approximately a creepy antagonist that almost sheds enough light to allow me to track the sequence, but the fights are mostly frustrating blurs of vague moments against black backdrops. With Din captured, Grogu seeks help from Bo-Katan, who saves Din's life twice, well, in 15 minutes. She also gets to show off just how much better she is with the Darksaber than Din when she takes it off the creature that captured him, re-establishing her claim to the weapon that can finally reunite her people. Her conversations with Din dig into the conflicts between their approach to what it is to be a Mandalorian, and also what it means to be a people in despair. I'd also like to quickly mention the way that Bo-Katan uses the Darksaber is totally awesome. It's way cooler than Din Djarin, to be honest, and we can tell that she's way more skilled with it. Of course she is. She's been using it before. Are we defined by where you live, where you grow up, or the code that you live by, is the conversation that Bo-Katan and Din have. It makes sense that Din clings more to the culture as a child of exile, while Bo-Katan defines Mandalore more as a physical place to rebuild, really, compared to it being a part of her creed. From there, that is kind of where the article concludes. They say a little bit more in their conclusion and in their final verdict. We all kind of know how IGN is. They're a little bit picky when it comes to their ratings. However, if you want to check the rest of it out, as I had mentioned, it's linked in the description down below for you guys to check out there as well. I'd also like to quickly mention the whole ending that we saw here towards this episode, the Mythosaur. That is what that giant dinosaur-like creature that Bo-Katan sees when she dives down to rescue Din Djarin, the Mandalorian, when he falls beneath the mines into the waters. Now, whether or not that creature pulled him down into the water, or if he simply fell off, it's kind of unknown. I think he just fell off. I don't think he knows how to swim all that well, to be honest, which is kind of funny and perfectly fine at the same time. So to see the Mythosaur actually exist, however, I think it's going to play a huge part into the narrative going forward with everything that's going on Mandalore, the planet itself, everything that's going on between Din Djarin and Bo-Katan, and with the Darksaber and who the true ruler of Mandalore would be and everything like that. I'd like to also discuss the Mythosaur and everything that we know about it, everything that you should know about the Mythosaur before we go forward in The Mandalorian Season 3. As I had mentioned, I think that this creature is going to play a big role going forward into the future of this season here, so stay on the lookout for that by hitting the subscribe button and that notification bell if you haven't already to be notified for when that video comes out. We also cover all types of Star Wars related news, leaks, rumors, theories, and breakdowns here on the channel, so if you guys are into any of that, hit the subscribe button today and join us here on the channel today. I would love to hear all of your thoughts and opinions in the comment section down below, your initial reaction to The Mandalorian Season 3 Episode 2, and kind of your thoughts and opinions on the overall episode. I would love to hear in the comment section down below.